Hello, guys. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Natasha.
And we were wondering,
are you free for coffee?
Welcome, welcome.
Okay, guys, this one is juicy.
It
like
is.
this one.
It is kind of juicy.
It is.
I know y'all have seen lately on the news that Kim Kardashian was interviewed or someone asked about her co-parenting issues with Kanye, and all about Kanye's mental health struggles and just him being in the news.
Sometimes very erratic behavior.
Yes, just doing some kind of crazy stuff. And I was really so impressed with her and how she really keeps it civilized for her children.
Yes.
And how she shuts down they don't have access to the news or to, gossip or anything where they would hear people talking about him. And with his last episode, I mean, there was a lot to talk about,
Yes.
It really was. So she makes sure that in her home, they always hear good things about their father. Mm-hmm. And I so appreciated that and really thought that was so wonderful of her to do.
And so difficult.
So difficult when they're doing such public things, and
attacking you in such a public manner.
And embarrassing things. And that's a lot to unpack. But that was what she said, that in her home, she always speaks well of him. They don't have any access to, like internet or social media without her, so she has filtered all of that. Mm-hmm. So they don't know anything that's going on with their dad in terms of those types of things, his struggles. So we were just thinking about it and, just wanted to talk about co-parenting with a crazy. Mm-hmm. Now we're saying that tongue in cheek. Now, we don't mean that. Crazy doesn't have to be mental health issues. It could be
anything.
There's just some problems. You can have a messy divorce, messy breakup.
Yes.
A third party, fourth party, all kind of things that happen that makes the situation crazy.
How do you navigate this?
Yes.
And oftentimes the crazy and the claws don't come out until much later.
Yeah.
Like I've known people as couples, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, you separated, and as an outside looking in, you're kind of like, oh, I didn't see, maybe you did see it coming, maybe you didn't. But boy, when it comes to parenting, that's when you start to see
crazy
people's stuff. I have a good friend who, she just does her best to co-parent with someone who is just hell-bent and determined to make it difficult. Mm. And I just would have never, ever, ever pegged him for that kind of person. I mean, really, even when they didn't work out, I thought, okay, but you know what? So-and-so has a good dad. Ooh, child. All of the mess has come out. And it's so unfortunate because it's left her doing all the work. Like, she's went to therapy to try to learn to cope with what this other person is going to do, because you can't get them to get help. You can't get them to see this like, okay, let's be rational, or let's do what's best for the child, or whatever, what have you. And it really made me think like, wow, this is
But it
rough.
has such a ripple effect.
Oh,
and we're even seeing that in the royal family.
Ooh,
I know
baby.
Y'all know with this with Prince Harry's book and his interviews and things. I mean, and everybody knows his parents. There was a third party, and sometimes a fourth party with the mom, I think later, but the father had a long going relationship with the now queen consort. So that gravy spills on everybody. Everybody. So it's just, how do you swim in those murky waters?
Yeah.
So no matter what the situation is. So we just have some tips for y'all, and we just want to talk about it. One of them is set aside hurt and anger. And that's huge. The only thing I think I can say with that is it just takes time. Because when you're far enough on the other side of it, you can let it go and be
kind of like totally differently,
right? And then it's kind of like, you don't really want anybody that doesn't want you. Now at the time, it's hurtful.
Yes, it feels like an ultimate betrayal.
It's such a betrayal. It really is. It's a betrayal. You feel hurt. You've been what's the word? Somebody didn't choose you. They chose somebody else instead of you, or however it goes down. And at the time, it's so hurtful, and especially when children are involved. Yes. And if you're married, you've taken vows, you committed to someone.
Yeah. And your commitment in your head was lifelong.
Right. But if you get far enough away from it, you can see it in compassion. You really don't want anybody that doesn't want you. Yep. You really don't. And people have to live their truth.
Yes.
And if their happily ever after is with someone else.
Yeah. Unfortunately, their happily ever after may not involve you.
It might not, but
which sounds, I know it sounds bad, but it's true.
When you experience it, it's hard too. Mm-hmm. But I think you just have to get to the place where you can wish them well in their endeavor and move on with yours. Because if he or she was feeling that way, there's somebody else for you.
That's right.
There's somebody else for you that's down for you.
That is not your puzzle piece.
That's it. So
that is not
just
your puzzle piece.
And you've got to get to the place of letting them go. Yes. Now, one thing
for your own good,
right?
For you.
For one thing I can say with Kim that makes it easier for her is economics.
Absolutely.
Because Kim don't need Kanye for nothing to get along.
Yes. Now
or
I
her
agree.
Children.
Now I agree with you, but I am going to say this on the economics because I would have agreed with you 1,000%. I'm going to take it down to about 900% because the only issue there, and this is a good lesson for anyone, is while economics can speak to your favor and it's easy to say, well, yeah, if I had the money, it'd be great. I almost cursed. This man bought a house across the street. Yeah.
He's since given it to her, though.
He has.
So he kind of had a moment of clarity and gifted it to her.
But I just want to point out that even her economic status could not let her escape that.
Didn't shield her from everything.
It doesn't shield you from everything. But now I will agree. If you're worried about
how you're going to pay your light bill. And then this person, a lot of times they use money. They weaponize the check. And
absolutely.
If you're, getting child support that you need, for the kids and for yourself to get along.
You have with them.
If you're in a state where there's alimony, and you are depending on that income to live, and this person
has just
male or female, a lot of times it's men, but women do it too. And they've weaponized it. And, I'm not going to pay you because I'm mad about whatever
it is.
And you're in that position. It's hard to be compassionate then. And I'm really not trying to get along with you. If
this is the card you're going to play.
So that's one thing I can say about Kim. When you're in a position of financial
stability.
Yes.
Or excess. To be honest.
It's financial, what's the word? Independence.
Yes.
You can be a lot more compassionate because, do you, and no matter how crazy it gets, I'm going to be okay.
Right.
So maybe, that's a goal for everybody
yes.
to do. We all want to be financially independent. So you are not dependent on anybody, really. But
and you know what? If you're listening, and you're maybe more in the position where I am, where you're happily married and this is your person. And that's awesome, right? Like seriously, kudos to you.
Yes.
Because that is where I am.
High five.
My husband is definitely my happily ever after. I was previously married. And so I have been through figuring out that, this isn't my person. And this isn't lifelong. And just all of the shock and pain and betrayal that comes along with that. But I will say, even if this is your person, now, do you have your aunt's quote in here lined up? I don't want to take it from you.
Oh,
do you have it?
I do have. I had a great aunt. She's since passed away, but she used to call it ass money.
Hey,
so everybody. Now she would say a woman, because she's from the generation where it was women that were most in this position. That if this joker showed his ass, you got some money.
Baby.
That was her thing, to have a little nest egg, a little stash.
It's life-changing advice.
It really is. And this is a woman who would have been 100 years old, so she lived a lot, had 3 husbands, outlived 3 husbands. So,
yeah,
but
there is some truth
there's some
to
wisdom
that. And like
in
I
that.
said, even if you're in a happily ever after and someone is thinking, girl, your husband listened to this podcast. Ironically, we talked about ass money last night. We talked about it.
Thing to have.
And guys, he wasn't in trouble last night. It was a good conversation. Okay. But we did talk about it because it cushions the blow. And something that I've learned, I guess, as someone that's been married twice and, all that jazz, is you have to separate like the hurt from being mad. There's a difference. And when you're upset, they all just kind of blend together. It's like this, it's like a smoothie. Like there's strawberries in there, but you can't find them anymore because it's mixed in, it's blended. You have to separate the hurt from your mad. Because if you're not careful, the two are going to mix. And especially this, this is about co-parenting. So there's kids involved and you might do something or say something or display a certain demeanor that you really didn't mean to, because you're letting your hurt navigate you.
Yes.
And if you're hurting, and hurting is very real.
And fearful.
When
finances get into it and they're kind of shaky, there's a fear element to it. So,
and there's a lot to it. Lisa always comes, y'all, with the research and the tips. But I know just from my own experience, I think the biggest thing is, and Kim has set a good example of this. I say Kim like we just BFFs, but y'all don't know what's going to happen to you, girl. Kim, like I said,
we love you, Kim.
She has set a good example of this, and that is release yourself from shame. If I could give any advice, FUCK, shame. In case your kids are listening, y'all, I'm trying to help you. I have littles too, and sometimes I listen to podcasts and I'm like, turn it down. Release shame. Yes. Shame can be anything.
And we've said this before. Just because it didn't work out does not mean that relationship was not successful.
Absolutely.
Because, in this case, we're talking about parenting. So you have children with them. Those children would not be those children without that person.
That's right.
So there's a success right there.
Yes.
If you can't thank the person for anything else, thank them for those kids.
Those beautiful children.
Because no matter if it was another guy, another girl, it wouldn't have been those kids.
That would not have been those kids. That's right.
So, you thank them for that. And just let it go. It was successful for a time.
For a season, yes.
And maybe not forever.
I don't want to mix them up. The twins. It's Tia. Right? Tia Mowry.
Yes, just got
she
divorced or separated.
And she divorced. And she talked about that. About how it was successful for the endeavor in which it was.
Right.
And I just, when I heard it, I was like, okay, look at little Lisa over here. But it's true. But I also really think and she's another one that's given a good example. Release the shame. And what I mean by that is release the lie that they didn't pick me and there's something wrong with me. That's a lie.
Right.
Release the lie of feeling that you have to pretend to have it all together. Parenthood is hard. I don't care what's in your pants. It's hard for moms. It's hard for dad. Anybody who is actively parenting, it's hard for them. Now, you have deadbeat parents on both sides of the spectrum, and it ain't hard for them, y'all, because they're not doing any work. But if you are actively parenting,
if you give a damn.
It's
hard.
It's hard work.
But if you can set that aside.
Yeah.
And the other thing is don't put the children in the middle.
Yes, please.
And that's that was another tip. She set a beautiful example for us was Kim.
Yeah,
she does not do that.
Yes.
She always speaks very highly of their father to them.
Yes.
Now, maybe when she gets with her sisters and with her mama, she's probably,
and she done told
she probably unloads
truth.
on him.
Yes.
And if she does, I don't blame her.
Yes.
But,
and find
you don't
that
put the children in the middle.
Find that person
that you can
unleash
do that
on.
With. Yeah.
And you know
just
what?
Vent a little.
You may make friends. You may say, well, I don't have a lot of friends or my friends know them and I don't want to get them involved. And I understand that. I do. I don't care if you start going to a coffee shop and don't order nothing but hot water, bring your own tea bag and form a relationship with a barista or someone on the register. You would be surprised how therapeutic it is.
Or support groups. There's a lot of divorce support groups. Yeah.
Facebook has groups.
It's really nice to find someone who's been through it and is on the other side of it.
Yes.
That's a tremendous
because I think
help.
they can help you gain a perspective that you're just not there yet.
Right.
You hadn't gotten that far along.
Yeah. Improve communication with the parent. So set a business-like tone. Now, I know we have all had folks we work with that we don't too much care for.
We don't fool with them.
But you can put your smiling face on and be professional
for just a second, guys.
For a second. And that's how you treat them like that. Just treat them like that. They're not your friend. You're not telling them your business. You are not, engaging in any kind of social
pleasantries or anything.
You are just very matter of fact.
It is what it is. Yeah.
You're very cordial.
Yeah.
You say what you got to say. Johnny's got a test on Wednesday. There's a parent-teacher conference next week. Say what you got to say in a cordial way and keep it moving.
Yeah.
So if you have to treat this person
sanity.
like that for a while, do it.
Yeah.
Just do that. You do it at work to get your check. Do it.
Now you better preach that sermon, Lisa.
Do it like this to get the check or to, keep the relationship together enough to raise these kids.
Yeah.
And then make requests. So you can say, can we try XYZ? Would you be willing to let Natasha spend the night? Would you be willing to, so broach it in that way. Don't be so accusatory.
Right.
Watch your tone.
And again, that goes back to the hurt.
Yes.
You feel betrayed.
Yes. Take the hurt out of your voice, out of your tone.
Yes.
So just keep it like work. Really? Because
when you said that, Lisa, that's such a good point. There's
some people at work you can't stand. You know it. We all know it. And you want to go upside their head, but you don't.
But you can't.
And you keep it. And that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. And then just keep the conversations kid focused. Just say what you have to say, when you have to say it. And that's it. You don't have to volunteer any other information. You don't have to ask them how they are, what you're doing. Just keep it minimal and cordial. And you need some rules.
Yes.
Now once you get past it a little bit and you can actually,
I'm sure it kind of becomes the habit, the pattern.
Pleasant. You can have some rules. So you need similar systems for discipline at each of the houses. You need a schedule consistency. There, you decide what your own rules are, but there needs to be some rules.
Yes.
So once you get calm down and on the same page, you can get that together. And then make important decisions together. At some point you do have to have conversations, a lot of times about healthcare and insurance, about schools, tuitions, and
I don't know if
financial issues, lots of things that you have to talk about.
I don't know if you agree with this, Lisa, but I did tell my friend, I said, I really, Lord, I can't imagine. I really can't to some extent. But I remember telling her, I'm just glad this won't last always. This won't last always. And if that's all you can take to bed at night, I hope that gives
works
someone
for
a
the
glimmer.
good and the bad.
Yes.
Nothing lasts forever.
This won't last always. Yes, this person works your nerves.
The sad thing is sometimes they're always going to be in your life. They are. And you think, if I can get to 18, well, the kids will get married and they'll have kids. And so you're going to have grandchildren in common. They will be in your life. Yeah. So the sooner you
you're right.
to the, I can
to
stand
the better
you.
coping point, the better it is for you.
It is.
For you.
It is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When you can just wish someone well, even if you have to do it from a distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're just, it is what it is. Yeah. They're in your life.
And when you said about not putting children in the middle, I think one of the best reasons for this is that kids grow up and kids remember.
Yeah, they do.
Kids grow up and kids remember. And I think sometimes when you're in the midst of it and you're in the mud, all you see is mud. You don't see any of the clean parts because you're just like uncomfortable and muddy and dirty and you're just in the throes of it. But as someone who now I have like parenting conversations and I laugh with my parents because now I have kids that are doing things that I used to do. And so it's very funny to my parents to be like, really? They got it from you. You know, like I think to myself, these kids are going to remember. And if the other person was the asshole, the kids are going to remember that. They're going to be like, well, no, I only remember dad ever being really polite and just trying, and, you know, mom was not about it. Or I only remember
everybody
mom
has
being
their
nice.
own narrative.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
you have your story, and your story, it doesn't make it invalid because it's not the other person's story.
That's true.
But, you know, it's like my mom used to say, you know, there's their story, your story, and then the truth,
right?
Which is probably in the middle somewhere. But, you know, just like you're saying, when you're in the midst of the hurt, you're seeing all the bad things. Just like we were talking the other day about when somebody dies, you know, when an asshole dies, people get up and, oh my God, you would have thought it was
Betty White,
Archangel Gabriel. You know, he, she, whatever was so wonderful and this and that. So it's kind of both ways. You know, you know, when you're in the thick of this situation, you see all the bad things, even though, you know, if he or she was like this, you wouldn't have married him at the beginning.
Yes.
You know, now I'm not saying it didn't come out later, but they weren't always this way.
Yeah, they weren't.
Just like we talking about serial killers. They're not always serial killers. Yes. Sometimes they're nice. They got some good
charming,
days.
nice.
So, you know, you kind of got to call that up, the good things, for your kids.
Yes.
Remember those things. And for yourself. And, you know, this is a process. I'm not saying this can be done overnight, because it can't. No. This is, you know.
This is work.
This is work. But it's better for everybody to get on the other side of it.
And I think it's better for you. It's better. You don't want that stress and that worry and that angst. No. And listen, I ain't saying you can decrease it 100%, because I don't believe that may not be true, but decrease it for you. And if not for you, for the kids. For sure.
And we're not saying forget it, but you can forgive it.
No.
You know, that's what you kind of have to do.
I sure didn't say forget.
Yeah, you don't forget, but you can forgive it. And, you know, that's the sooner you do that, the sooner you get to your happily ever after.
That's
because you're not ready for anything. If you've got so much
is still
tied up in
this, you're not ready.
And, you know, really, the reason why you have so much angst with it is because you have feelings for them. You know, think about it. When you don't have feelings, do you care?
People can't even bother you that much.
As long as they, you know, do what they're supposed to do, you don't really care. So that's what we wish for you, to get on the other side of that.
I agree.
But, you know, keep the communication. Don't sweat the small stuff. Like, don't make every single thing an issue.
Catastrophic.
There's some things that you might have to bring up and discuss, but there's some stuff, just let it go.
Right.
That's Nelson. Y'all, sorry. Let's see. Make transitions and visitations easier.
Yes.
So do what you have to do. You know, keep organized, pack in advance, keep your routine together. And seek help. Like we said before, if you have to go to counseling, if you need a support group, like we said, if you just need a BFF, you need somebody that you can vent to and just get it out, talk it through. And just that voice of reason that says, have you thought about this? Or have you tried this? Or maybe ask him this, you know, just somebody else to bounce ideas off of. And take care of you.
Yes.
That's a big one. Whatever self-help and self-care looks like for you, do it.
Yes.
You have to stay healthy, and both mentally and physically, to navigate these choppy waters. And let your kids be kids.
Yes.
Y'all, let your kids be kids.
Yes.
They don't burden them with any of this. They don't need to hear your financial worries, your worries about whatever it is. Just let them be
They're
children.
Your kids. They're not your friends.
And it doesn't last long. They don't have long to do it. Just let them be. Yeah. Just let them be.
They have, God willing, a whole lifetime of being grown up with their own problems.
Right.
They don't need to start
and let
that
this
out early.
Other person, whoever it is, do the things that they're good at with the kids. You know what I mean? Because those are making memories. Those are
that's helping
those
your
are
kids'
wonderful
foundation
times for them. So if nothing else, if you navigate with that I want my children to have a happy childhood, even though we are not together, I am determined
for them to have a happy childhood.
To have a happy childhood with both parents, and you guys can suck it up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, having said all that, you know, if you have some real issues in terms of a person being abusive, or you are fearful of your safety or your children's safety or things, you need to get some other people involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Now that we're not talking about that.
No.
So if you are kind of in that territory, please get help.
Yes.
Wherever you need to get it, the police
and even reach out to
social services,
local domestic violence organizations.
Yes.
People, the first thought people have is, it's like a shelter. I go stay there. Anywhere where there is a shelter, chances are they have an abundance of resources. There are actually people who, so for example, whenever you transition and it's the other spouse's turn to have the kids, there are actually organizations of people who will go and they will intercede on your behalf. You get to wait in your car if it's a safety thing. You wait in your car and here's this person. Oh yeah, no, you're not speaking to her. This is what we're doing. Here are your kids. So that way you're staying compliant with the court orders. You're staying compliant with the rules, but you get to, you have a buffer.
You're staying safe.
You're staying safe as well. You have a buffer.
So if that's a situation for you or your children, get some other people involved.
Yes.
That's more than this. That's more than you sucking it up and being cordial.
This is really only pertaining to the two grown-ups didn't make it work, but now there's kids involved, which is a totally different, very different thing.
But you will get it. You will survive. You'll get to the other side of it.
Yes.
And we wish everybody well with it in the new year. And hopefully this will be a fresh start for you.
Yes. And if this calms you, just download this episode and play it every time you're on the way.
Up next, our picks for the sexiest man alive this week. But first, a message from our sponsor, BetterHelp.
During hard times, it can get really difficult if you don't have anyone to talk to. Being alone with your thoughts can be an isolating feeling that can allow negativity to consume you.
This is why we are sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to.
There is a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapist network that gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with the therapist in under 48 hours.
Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can request a new therapist at no additional charge anytime.
Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist. So many people use BetterHelp that they are currently recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states.
Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/free-for-coffee. That's betterhelp.com/free-for-coffee.
Okay, Lisa, I am ready.
Ooh, okay.
And in the spirit of the new year, my person is not a super tall, tatted up musician.
Oh my God, she's turning over a new leaf.
I really am. Guys, I'm so proud of myself. And this person, I want to give a little mini story shout out as to why I picked him for this, besides the fact that he's just absolutely gorgeous. So this person, before their big break, because we usually pick obviously like celebrities for our sexiest man alive this week, before his big break, he had a friends with benefits situation, and he was told that he fathered a child. And so he was like, I just, that's not the child's fault. I'm not going to leave this person high and dry. So he really stepped it up, even while pursuing his acting career. And when he had his big break, which the movie for his big break was Boys in the Hood, So it kind of gives you a hint as to who it may be. He was hit with a child support / paternity suit. So the mother and her mother had lawyered up. He got hit with this suit, and at the end of everything, they're going over money. This is what we're requesting. He's this big actor now, and he's leaving us, and yada yada. It turns out the kid was not even his child.
It's like a Maury Povich show.
It is, girl. You are not the father. Says. Yes. Oh. And it was, and even this was a recent interview who's talking about this. The child is now over 18, and you could still just see this little twinge of pain, like just making concessions, dealing with someone.
You have it messy.
Yes.
So you're not the only one.
You're not the only one. Dealing with someone who's not being fair to you, not being nice to you, using this truthful child as leverage to dangle over you, and then to find out this was all BS. This isn't even your child. I mean, I just can't imagine. So anyway, I have a great deal of respect, but he is also gorgeous. Morris Chestnut.
Yes, he
who
is
has aged, baby. I mean, my God, like
and he's on
the best
Peacock.
Yes,
there's a series of the Best Man series.
Yes,
best.
So I don't know
all
if
the movies.
The movies. So they did a little mini series to finish it out. So this is like the finale, and
so it catches you up with them. They're middle aged now. It's super cute.
Yeah,
and he's in there. It looks the same. Looks exactly the same.
Girl,
like he hasn't aged.
If we could all age like that, I would be good. But my sexiest man alive this week is Morris
That's
Chestnut.
a good one.
Who you got?
Okay, mine is Milo. Please don't let me mess up his last name. Ventimiglia, who is the dad from This Is Us.
He is
Jack.
Cute.
He is so cute.
I didn't know how to say his name, but when you said Milo, I knew.
So cute. And for you This Is Us fans, you know who I'm talking about. The dad, Jack. He's adorable.
He is handsome.
He's so cute.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, guys, thank you for pulling up a chair and joining us for coffee. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to Are You Free for Coffee wherever you are listening, and find joy in the little things. Till next time.
Part of the Boundless Audio Podcast Network.